MarzGurl.
And I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
Welcome to episode 55 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 2, Episode 4 of City Hunter, titled Kaori is in Danger, Love Means Saying Goodbye, Part 2.
It's an exclamation mark, not a question. We know she's in danger.
No, she is in danger.
We definitely know she's in danger based on last episode. This is a two-parter.
So, talking about last episode, definitely we actually have to go back and address a bunch of stuff that we didn't realize.
Well, two things.
Three things.
What's the third thing? Well, you know what? We'll get there after I talk about these two things.
Okay, so first and foremost, alright? At the very beginning of that episode, when Kaori's just walking around in the city, right?
I had to go back and look at the scene because I was trying to find a screenshot to use for social media's sake. And I'm listening to Kaori. She's humming really quietly to herself. You know what she's humming?
What's she humming?
Do you know what she's humming? She's humming What's Going On from that one singular episode of season 1. You know, the one like way early in the beginning of season 1. What's going on? What's going on?
I know, I'm just trying to
We still
get
got like the one guy who listens to our show who continuously reminds me, hey, I remember that song. What's going on? What's going on? Guess what? Kaori remembered that song too.
All the way back from episode 14. Here's a hit making its way back to the top of the charts. What's going on? What's going on? So that's one song that we have to mention. The other is that when Kaori is brought by Ryo to the stand with all of the knockoff or the bootleg pop idol photos, what song is playing in the background?
2, 3, 4.
Friggin' Go-Go Heaven. We couldn't escape it.
It stopped being the opening theme, and it started just popping up in the background in different places. Thanks, City Hunter.
Like,
You
Go-Go
just couldn't
Heaven,
stop.
Go-Go Heaven was just there being like, oh, you think you're gonna get rid of me, huh? And just shows up.
Don't forget, it's City Hunter's theme song. Do they know that Kaori is a member of City Hunter? Is that why they were playing the theme song while they were selling her photo?
I don't think anybody outside of the underworld knows that she's attached to City Hunter.
Okay.
I mean-
so it's just a crazy coincidence.
Well, not just that, it's just kind of the conceit you have to make that it would be really easy to notice, hey, you know, this one cute girl keeps checking the board there at Shinjuku Station. I wonder if she has anything to do with City Hunter, because she's always looking at the XYZ. So that's two things.
Okay, what's the third thing? I don't remember a third thing.
And the third thing that we didn't realize was going to be a thing, so we mentioned at the top of last week's episode that just before we had started recording, we had just been to Book Off.
Well, okay, yes, so this covers this episode as well. But it did cover the last episode. I got volumes 13 and 14 of the Japanese most recent printing of City Hunter, the reprints of that manga.
And as you would figure, we were just happy to see City Hunter out in the wild for $2 a piece.
Right.
So we just picked it up and you didn't actually look into it.
Like, I flipped through it, but because we were in the middle of that episode, like, I had not yet seen that scene in the anime. Well, I mean, I had seen it last year when we watched it before we started doing our podcast.
Well, more
but-
than at this point.
More than. Okay, fine. More than a year ago. But I didn't remember, oh, this is what's coming up literally next episode. Okay.
And so, flipping through it, we realized, wait a minute, the beginning of this volume of 13 is literally what we're covering right now. So now we're aware of a bunch of differences.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Also, like, Tsukasa Hojo's art is so much more semi-realistic, super detailed. Everybody is hot.
Everybody's hot.
Everybody's got so much ass. Kaori just has so much ass.
She has a lot of junk in the trunk.
And everything's a lot more violent, too. So.
I mean, more so than what the anime will ever provide us with.
Also, so many boners. Just way too many boners. Can't show it on TV. Too much boners. So this chapter, the first, 3 chapters of Volume 13, right? They're gonna cover the episode that we are talking about tonight, and as we go through this, I want to point out a couple of differences between what's happening in the manga and what ends up happening here as it's interpreted in the anime.
Now that we've got all that housekeeping done, let's actually get into the episode proper with a Dark Stormy Nights recap. from Kaori.
So Kaori's like, hey, remember that guy that Ryo just let go, even though he was most probably a murderer? He's really mad at Ryo, and to get back at Ryo, he's trying to murder me. And now Ryo won't even do anything about it, because he doesn't even like me. At least that's what she believes. He totally likes her and cares about her, but he's trying to push her away, just so that she doesn't get hurt. So she runs away. At the end of the last episode, she ran away because Ryo acted like, I don't like you, go away.
Ryo's trying to play it up like, there's no way I can be with a partner that can't spot a red dot sight on her. Like, we just can't do that. And really what it is Ryo knows he showed his whole ass in that last scene. You know, thinking that he had fooled everybody into thinking, oh, I'm on a date, nobody actually thinks I care about Kaori. But the second he saw that red dot sight, he's like, Kaori, no! And then he goes flying across a whole discotheque and then shoots wildly into the crowd because he thinks somebody's trying to kill Kaori.
Which, you know, somebody is, just not right that second.
Yeah. Now, I imagine right here in this episode, somebody there at Sunrise was like, hey, so the episode's almost done, right? Yeah? Okay, so where's the M&M's product placement this week? Oh, crap.
We left like half of it off screen, so we gotta make up for that this time.
Well, we don't have anything left. The only thing we have left to do is the opening shots here. You want to put like an M&M's ad just flailing in the wind? No. I got a better idea. What's that can there on the ground? Oh, it's just gonna be like a can of soda or something? No, it's a can of M&M's now.
Yes, because that's a thing.
M&M's soda.
M&M's out of a soda can, which I also have to point out. It's still the yellow M&M's packaging, right? But it says M&M's plain, and I'm just like, no, my brain has known M&M's advertising my entire life. The yellow means the peanuts. The yellow doesn't mean plain, and you put it on a soda can. What is happening? I feel like I'm losing my mind.
Somebody screwed up, is what I'm thinking. But in any case, Kaori doesn't have anywhere to go right now because she certainly doesn't want to be anywhere near Ryo. So she's got to go to somebody she can trust.
So in the anime, that ends up being Umibozu.
What happens here is, yeah, she's at his warehouse that apparently he doesn't lock the doors. She can just walk in whenever.
I mean, he opened the door for her. It's raining outside. She's all sad.
Well, like, she got in the main door of the building and then went up to the room he was in.
That's true.
And then multiple times through this episode, she walks back there and just opens the door. So he does not lock his outdoor locks.
I guess he just expects he's such a badass that nobody would come approach him.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Maybe he prefers it that way.
So, I want to point out here that although the anime spends a lot of time on Umibozu in this episode, Kaori goes up to him to get some advice or get some training or whatever, that is not a thing that happens in this chapter of the manga where it comes from. So, do you remember the lady with the bees? I know, like, the manga, like, blasts through a whole bunch of women, and they mostly do crop up in the anime as well, but they disappear after like one episode. So the lady with the bees, and the bees were gonna like destroy the world or something.
From episode 23? Buzz, go the killer bees?
Yeah, what was her name again?
Kazue Natori.
Yeah, that's her. So Kaori goes to her house, and also there's an old man professor there. Mind you, like, I'm jumping in the middle of City Hunter. I've only read like the first, 20 some odd chapters myself that have been legally distributed, right? I tried a long time ago to read scanlations, and they're really rough. And so I don't know what happens in the middle here, and I don't really know who this old man professor is. Anyway, she goes to this house where Umibozu is not, and for some reason, the bee lady continues to be a character, okay? She's still there for some reason, and Kaori has gone to her for, comfort, advice, I don't really know. And there's this old man guy. He's there too, and he wants to look at Kaori's ass. I appreciate that it is Umibozu instead in the anime. If I am to be honest with you, I feel like the anime has taken Tsukasa Hojo's obsession with, I just have to throw a bunch of women in here, and really like narrowed it down like, oh no, we really need to straighten this out and give this anime some focus, man. So we need to make sure some of these characters are actually important. And now it's Umibozu instead.
all that to say, Umibozu is given much more of a starring role here, and for what it's worth, I'm already going to say ahead of time, I like that better than what the manga's doing.
I agree.
So Umibozu has allowed Kaori to stay over for the night, and next morning he wakes up with a start because he hears her running down the hallway.
So it was funny. At first I was thinking, oh, he's asleep in bed. Oh, he actually sleeps with his sunglasses off. Good, he actually takes them off sometimes.
But then as soon as he hears the running down the hallway, that's the first thing he reaches for. He has that, a gun underneath his pillow, like you would figure, and a bazooka by the bed. In that order, that's what he grabs to get ready for whoever's coming down, whatever assailant is about to come at him.
And I was just like, man, who grabs sunglasses that fast? Are they prescription sunglasses?
And then both of us in unison were like, maybe they are.
Maybe they might be.
Because that's a thing that will come up later.
Yeah, it's kind of important. It's a thing you're not supposed to know yet, so I'm hesitant to say.
I think I'll hold off on saying it, but that's actually...
So I think it's entirely possible that this is a touch that they didn't even intend when they were animating it.
Perhaps.
Maybe they weren't even thinking about it. It's just really funny that you never see Umibozu with his sunglasses off, hardly. But...
Other than his introductory episode.
Yes.
And right now.
But there might be a reason.
There might be a really good reason.
So maybe one day we need to remember that we were talking about this and say, hey, this episode way down the line in like a year, remember that time he threw on sunglasses the very first moment he woke up out of bed? Yeah, okay, we need to remember that in the future.
But anyway, Kaori's just running up in there like Homer trying to wake up Bart. Hey, you want to try out these new brownies? Ah! But it's really just her running up to be like, hey, Umibozu, you want breakfast? And Umibozu's like, ah! But not really.
Also, Umibozu apparently doesn't eat breakfast usually, but I guess he's gonna make an exception this time.
I mean, I would, because she made a whole-ass buffet spread.
And then included a bottle of whiskey, which I guess she's just like, well, if he likes whiskey so much, after all, he has literally at least 25 bottles on the shelf behind me. I guess I'll just set it out for breakfast.
Yeah, because, like, you look at his dining room, which, funny enough, looks a lot like Ryo's in terms of its very barren layout.
Look, these are just doodly dudes, and this is their home decorating. It's what they do. It's what,
style?
It's just, that's their... They don't have a style. They're not thinking about style. These are just dudes that are like function over fashion.
So it's like Bruce Lee. It's like the style of no style. Oh, wow.
Is that a
awesome
thing Bruce Lee did?
Yes, but that was about fighting. And no, I'm completely misusing that. I know I am. I'm sorry.
These two guys fight.
I mean, yeah, but not like Jeet Kune Do or anything. Like, I don't even know that Umibozu would study that.
Probably not.
Ryo, maybe, but not real. The only anime character that has ever been confirmed to learn Jeet Kune Do is Spike Spiegel.
That's true. But even then, Kenshiro in Fist of the North Star is supposed to look an awful lot like Bruce Lee.
Okay, Kenshiro, it is implied because of the way he was created.
Although specifically, what he knows is Hokuto no Ken. And that's a totally different thing.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. You want to go find Fist of the North Star, we'll make mention of it, but, like, that's a whole nother ball game. Anyway, so Umibozu, like, eats like a pig, right? He's just gulping and slurping. He doesn't ask anything of Kaori. He's just there chowing down, and Kaori's like, so you're not gonna ask why I'm here?
No.
What would it matter? I mean, you can stay, just don't make crappy breakfasts.
And so he walks out the door when he's done.
The thing is there, he's kind of implying this was good breakfast.
He is, because he ate it really fast. You don't eat it fast if it's not good, I guess.
And here's the other thing I'm wondering about, because of the way we've always seen breakfast handled at Casa de Saiba. What do you think was the way breakfast was taken care of? Did Kaori go out and get groceries like she normally does? Or did she just use what was around Umibozu's apartment?
I think it was just what was around, honestly.
So you think he actually stocks his kitchen?
I mean, look, she pulled that whiskey bottle from his shelf. He was at least stocked with the whiskey, so I imagine she just dug through his things.
Like, just going back to the amount of whiskey, dude has intent to redistribute. That's how much whiskey he's got.
Like, do you think that's his brand that he bottles himself and that's why he's got so much?
Like he's got a side hustle with whiskey?
And that's why it's off-brand. Like, what did we say the last time we saw it? Because it was
something
like
hawk.
A hawk or an eagle or something. And it was like off-brand because we were kind of familiar with a similar looking brand of whiskey.
Because it kind of reminded me of Wild Turkey.
But it's a hawk instead of a turkey. So I think he's bottling his own whiskey and he's like, I have to make a Wild Hawk. That's my brand. So
like,
this is my headcanon now.
This is how he makes up for
He's
stuff.
brewing his own whiskey, and I guess he also drinks from his own supply.
Which you should never do. Never get high, never get drunk off your own stash.
Why does he need that many bottles? Can he really down that many bottles that fast?
I mean, you saw he was just glugging on it there at the breakfast table.
Okay, well, then I guess it's a possibility that he buys that many because he's concerned about running out very quickly.
He does strike me as the kind of person like, I like one kind of gun, I like one kind of Jeep, and I like one kind of alcohol, and it's this whiskey, and I buy all of it.
And then he drinks an entire bottle a day. And so he's done with that entire stash that he had on the shelf within the month.
Entirely possible. He seems like that kind of guy.
Okay.
But I do like the idea of him bottling it himself as a side hustle.
I know.
Like, I want to see his picture on the side of the bottle. Like, his stamp of approval. Just him mean mugging it. Oh, it's the bald mean guy with sunglasses. You know that's a good bottle.
It's they at least put his face on it. And, like, who would advertise for Slim Jims?
Macho
Man? Like, you put
Randy Savage?
You put Randy Savage on the side of Slim Jims, so now you put Umibozu on the side of this Wild Hawk whiskey, just to sell Wild Hawk whiskey.
See, now I want to see Umibozu peddling Slim Jims.
I didn't say that!
Okay,
now I would believe it, because we put wrestlers on Slim Jims, and he's big enough to be a wrestler.
I argue that a former wrestler should play him, if there were ever an American adaptation.
Didn't we have this conversation?
We did have that conversation.
That it should be Batista?
Yes.
Oh my god.
A table of 5 people, 4-1 agreed that Batista is the top pick.
One of those 5 people wasn't super in on the City Hunter conversation.
Yeah.
So let's take it down to 4 people.
Okay, at least 4 people agreed, amongst people who knew what they were talking about.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, Umibozu says that Kaori can stay, and she's just there like, alright, well, I'll just clean up here, and he leaves the room. And who's there on the other side of the door?
On the other side of the door is Ryo, who's, despite everything that Ryo says, he cares, thus he came to, like, check in. He's apparently telling Umibozu how to take care of her. That's what that seems like to me, is that they had already had a conversation, like, look, Kaori's gonna come to you, just make sure she's alright.
Well, see, this definitely displays the amount of care that Ryo does have for her, because it's not just the fact that he knew exactly where she was gonna go, it's that he did it, and he's so good at his job of being able to be a sweeper and being able to check in on stuff without being noticed. Nobody knew he was there. I mean, obviously, Umibozu did, because he was like, how was that?
Yeah.
But it's like, how long had Ryo been there?
Exactly. Who knows? He probably heard that entire conversation from the other side of the door.
Like, it's that question of how long had he been there, and how long did he know that Umibozu was holding out that he had his own distillery?
Who knows?
So they have that conversation there, like, Umibozu's ribbing Ryo, like, you're always coming to me with the tough cases. And Ryo's like, well, it can't be helped, man. Alright, but after this, you're gonna have to take home a bottle. I already took home a bottle.
That's not a conversation they have, but I would believe it.
So after breakfast, Kaori decides to go back to the apartment, and she's kind of sneaking around, probably trying to not run into Ryo right now.
Even though she's going into Ryo's apartment, and she has a separate apartment, as will come up in a second. She lives a floor below him. So what's she doing up there? I don't know, but she's not the only one there. Guess who it is? It's Reika. That's Saiko's sister.
Yeah, Saiko's little sister, who we were introduced to last season.
Near the end of last season.
Yeah, we met Reika all the way back in episode 41 of last season, which is important because of the manga we bought.
Right. So, like I mentioned, Kaori had gone over to B-Lady's house, okay? Who, for some reason, is still a recurring character in the manga. You don't need to care about that for the sake of the anime, although this conversation that happens with Reika in the anime happens with B-Lady in the manga. So they have changed the character having this conversation. They changed the characters that Kaori went to go visit, and they changed the characters that Kaori has conversations with. Ultimately, this episode fulfills literally the exact same thing. It's literally the exact same plot plot, but the people that Kaori and Ryo talk to in this episode are different. In fact, Reika in the manga has not shown up yet, and she shows up, like, if you finish this episode of the anime, technically speaking, that's when you should be watching the episodes where Reika showed up back at episode 41 or whatever. That's how late Reika shows up for some reason, and the anime has decided we're just gonna reorder this and put this chapter way earlier over here. Now we have Reika and she's a recurring character.
So it's really interesting that we got to meet her earlier than necessary, because if we're going in sequential order of, like, say there was no break in between season 1 and season 2, then they introduced her like 20 episodes early.
Yeah.
That's weird that they decided to do that. Why not just save her?
I do not know. But that also kind of gives you an understanding of where the pacing of the manga was by the time that they started the anime. It means that much of the manga had already been published by this point in time. I just think it's really fascinating, the order they decided to tackle it all in.
So yes, Reika is there in Ryo's apartment because she's there on business.
Sure, we don't get an explanation for that, huh?
Well, she says as much of like, hey, so I heard about you and Ryo having a falling out, so he let you go, huh? Kaori's, indignant. He didn't let me go, I quit.
Which, I mean, both of those things are kind of true, but, like, the truth is actually in the middle.
It's a little of column A, it's a little of column B. But Reika says, oh, great, now it's my turn to try and be his partner.
To get more work with him or whatever, and Kaori's just like, the hell you are? Why? Why do you have any right to tell me whether or not I can work with him? You're not his partner.
Hell, what are you even doing up here? You live a floor below him.
Kaori's like, I was just gonna get my clothes, which are a floor below me, so I was just gonna tell Ryo goodbye. But he's not here, so fine, you tell him. I'm out of here. Bye. The whole thing's real stupid.
Yeah,
it's a very stupid
It's kind of
conversation.
stupid. But as she's leaving, Reika says to herself, or maybe even to the audience, how is it that the two of them don't realize there's never going to be a time where they aren't a thing?
They're the only two that don't realize that they're never gonna be apart.
And this is the first time any character has out loud said that in the show.
So this is now the crux of City Hunter. This is like the center core. From this point on, Ryo and Kaori's relationship is probably the most important thing, the most focal point thing for the rest of this series.
And really, we're seeing the shades of that finally in this past episode and now this week. But for right now, we still have to keep up this ruse that Ryo doesn't want to have anything to do with her.
I can't believe it's taken over a year for us to even get this far.
Yeah, but that's what got us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Kaori left all indignant, left Reika up there, and she's just talking to herself down at the bottom floor like, ugh, everybody hates me, nobody wants to help me, I guess I'll just go die. But then remembers, wait a minute, Reika has a sister. She's a police officer. I can just ask her to protect me.
Yeah, the police, that's what they're supposed to do, right? So Kaori runs. For one thing, she's running. And that's where I was like, hey, you have a car. Where's your car?
Well, for some reason, Ryo has it.
We haven't seen him drive it this episode.
He was driving it the episode prior.
Yeah, but that's the episode prior. What about now? Where is her car? We don't see either of their cars this episode.
Look, we need to put the Mini on a milk carton is what's happening here. Maybe there's a car thief and we just don't know about it.
Maybe. The manga chapters have the Mini.
Yeah, like we both looked through it, and yeah, sure enough, the Mini is right there front and center.
I don't know where Kaori's panda is, but okay.
So we see her taking mass transit. She gets off the subway and heads to the police station so that she can go find Sayako, but oh, looks like Ryo's there with Sayako.
So they're gonna have a conversation here. And again, I want to go back to the manga because remember, a good chunk of this particular chapter of the manga is Kaori not being at Umibozu's place, it's being at the bee lady's house with this professor guy who's like, maybe that's her dad or something. Again, I don't really know because I'm missing like a chunk of the chapters in the middle that I haven't read. Either way, so Ryo has the same conversation that he's gonna have with Sayako here in the anime, he went over to their house as well and was trying not to be seen by Kaori, and that did not happen. So he goes and he talks to the old man professor guy.
In the manga.
But ultimately, this is literally the exact same conversation that you're gonna see with Sayako here in this park area, and Kaori sneaks up to try to listen to this conversation in both versions. And also in both versions, she kind of steps on a twig and Ryo can totally hear that she's there listening to their conversation in the bushes.
Yeah, so what's happening now is now they've made their way to Shinjuku Park. Ryo's sitting on a bench and Kaori has snuck up behind him to try and eavesdrop on the conversation he's about to have with Sayako. And yeah, she kind of rustles some bushes, so Ryo totally knows she's there. And so Sayako asks him, hey, so I heard about Silver Fox, Reika told me everything. Why did you fire her?
And because Ryo knows that Kaori is listening from the bushes immediately behind him, he deliberately speaks really loudly and really mean.
So he proceeds to say, oh, she's all mero over me. So mero is this phrase that you hear sometimes in Japanese, which pretty much translates to hot and bothered. One of the earlier times I ever heard that used in anime was in an old episode of Oh My Goddess, where Erd was giving, oh god, what's his name? Keiichi. Where Erd was giving Keiichi this, he was promising to give him this elixir to give Bell Dandy, and if he gave it to her, it would make her all mero. Because she says it like, this'll make her all mero. And he gets all hot and bothered himself, and he's like, mero. Real funny moment from that anime. So here he's saying, oh, well, Kaori, she's all hot and bothered over me. She forgot who the hell she is and who the hell she works with. She forgot she's part of the underworld now. She's probably gonna come to you in a minute to beg your ass for protection because she's a loser, can't take care of her own damn problems and her own damn self. She's too guy crazy over me, and somebody like that has no business being a partner of City Hunter.
Which makes Kaori very sad, which is exactly what it was supposed to do, and she runs away all sad. But mind you, at the same time, you take a good hard look at Ryo's face for a good 5 seconds.
After he's done saying this.
And he clearly was like, ah, damn it. That's the look on his face. Well, is that he's not thrilled that he felt like he had to say that.
Well, because compare the two reactions there. Kaori, it all goes to grayscale.
Yeah.
The screen cracks. The world falls out from underneath her here in the anime.
Yeah.
And she is crushed to hear this coming out of Ryo.
Mm-hmm. In the manga, it's more like it hits her like a rock falling out of the sky hits her on the head.
But here I think it's actually depicted a little more accurately of you thought you guys had a pretty decent enough relationship up until just recently, and then to hear him say all this crap, not quite to your face, but totally to your face.
Actually, it's not even that in the manga. In the manga, he finishes saying all of that, and she doesn't even bother to hide anymore. She hits him with a rock and then runs away. She's just mad. Whereas in the anime, she's really crestfallen, really disheartened by this. But at the end of both, she really wants to prove him wrong.
So Sayako asks Ryo, that can't all be true what you just said. Isn't there something more you want to actually admit about all this? And Ryo, now we see that he actually feels kind of bad that he had to say all this. He's like, in dealing with her, I made 2 really rookie mistakes. One was that I didn't notice that when the gunshot went off in last week's episode, that it hit her heel, and I thought she got hit.
And this is interesting because it wasn't really openly discussed in the last episode that what had happened was that her heel got shot off. To me, the animation just made it look like she got lucky and her heel broke and then she kind of fell out of the way.
Right, that's the same take I got from that.
But fine. Okay, whatever you say, anime. If you're telling me that Silver Fox shot her in the heel, I guess I have to believe you, even though that animation did not look like that.
Yeah, it didn't look like that. So yeah, Ryo saying, 1, I made that mistake, and then 2, everything that happened at the disco last night. I was unprofessional, I lost my cool, I lost my cover, and I shot wildly. I can't believe I did all that. And Sayako tells him, I think I know why you did that, but I think more importantly, you know why you did that.
You know what you did.
And you know why you did it. And she doesn't say any more than that, but it's to be inferred that the reason Ryo has done these things, gone out of his way to try and protect Kaori, dropping all pretense of how he's supposed to act around her, is because she's gotten under his skin.
And Sayako deliberately says that, so once you really start to care about a girl, then this is what it does to you. I guess in a way, I'm sort of jealous. And I'm just sitting here like, Sayako, no you're not. Why are you lying? You just mistreat him all the time and take advantage of how many boners he gets. That doesn't make any sense to me. Shut up.
Well, in specific, you got a lot more mad when she said that.
I did just say, I gave one interjection of shut the fuck up. I was pretty I did not believe her for a second.
No, you were real pissed off at her. And so Ryo's saying, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna protect her. I'm not gonna act like I'm not going to. I'm going to protect her. But after this, it's over. I'm stepping away from this.
Soshite sayonara. That's what the manga says. But it's the same sentiment. It's the same. He's saying literally the same thing.
So yeah, Kaori was walking away feeling like all of her pride was hurt by everything Ryo says. And she's like, oh yeah? He doesn't think I can handle it? He doesn't think I can live in this world? He doesn't think I can be worthy of being City Hunter's partner? I bet. So she runs back to Umibozu's place and she's like, hey! And he's like, what?
I heard you're number one. Aren't you number one? Everybody tells me you're number one. Are you number one? And Umibozu gets this look on his face like, I'm really proud that somebody is telling me I'm number one. I will do whatever this person says because they're really blowing smoke up my ass right now.
So we're led to believe a little bit of time passes between this scene and the next scene we see here.
Just a little bit. Maybe the afternoon. Maybe.
Well, I don't know. It depends.
Maybe a day. Maybe.
Maybe a day. It all depends on how long stuff took to happen, which we'll discuss in a little bit here. So the next thing we see is that Umibozu is driving around in one of his Jeeps.
Which, by the way, the Jeep where you would typically see the Jeep logo does not say Jeep. It says Umi.
This mofo has customized his car to have part of his name on it.
It's not even his license plate. Like, I don't know that you can actually get custom plates in Japan. I don't know, maybe you can, but there's only like 4 characters on a Japanese license plate, so I feel like that would be really hard. So you have to customize your vehicle in other ways, like switching out the Jeep logo for one that says your name on it.
But yeah, Umibozu's driving around and he's going back to Ryo's apartment because he needs to go have some words with Ryo, and words you don't think he's gonna say. So he goes up, he's got his gun drawn, sees the door's locked, just kicks the door to crap.
Yeah, so he hasn't just kicked the door in, he has shattered this door to shreds with one kick. Which really tells me that Ryo needs to get a much sturdier door.
Your doors need to be Umibozu proof.
That was very much not an Umibozu-proof door. Like, I cannot tell you, like, shattered. Just flakes of wood everywhere.
Like, I'm trying to think, what was something we were watching recently of somebody who was just walking through walls like it was nothing?
Oh, Black Adam.
Yeah, Black Adam. Like, that's the kind of way I see Umibozu entering and exiting rooms if there are no assigned doors. Or even if there are, he just walks through the wall.
And then he just crumbles.
Leave an Umibozu-shaped hole behind him.
Mind you, he put a little more effort into this door than that. He used a foot, okay? But that foot shattered the whole door? It didn't just put a hole in the door. It shattered
the door's gone.
Entire door.
So Ryo tells him once he comes through the door, like, Ryo's got his gun drawn, like, what the hell, man? I thought I was getting raided. You owe me a new door.
Meanwhile, Umibozu's like, yeah, well, I was just thinking about you and concerned for your sake. Okay, so why'd you need to kick down his door to do that? I don't understand. I do not understand.
Yeah, so like, Umibozu's here telling him, I was just worried and checking up on you. And Ryo's like, you didn't have to do that. And he's being all indignant, but it's like, no.
You guys are friends.
You're buddies.
I know you act like enemies sometimes, but actually you're friends. Meanwhile, Reika shows up. Why are you back? I don't know. She's just there.
I don't know that Reika ever left.
Why has Reika been here? This is the one thing that the anime, it made a really weird decision here with Reika, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe just because they were like, we have no intention of bringing the bee lady back. We just need to throw some other lady in here to talk to them.
Well, to be fair, canonically, she works next door.
Okay, but the reason why she busts in the door, well, okay, I shouldn't say busts in the door because there's no door. So she just runs in the now completely open door and is like, hey guys, you gotta come downstairs because Kaori just raided the entire armory. Why were you down there?
Well, see, here's what I think happened. I think based off everything that we're going to insert in from stuff we're about to learn, I think the real reason Umibozu went upstairs to talk to Ryo was to distract him.
Entirely possible, because they do go downstairs, they go to the armory, and sure enough, a whole bunch of shit is missing. It's all kind of a mess down there. There's bazookas and guns and all sorts of other weaponry missing. And Ryo turns around and looks at Umibozu and is like, Umibozu, what did you do? And Umibozu just turns around and just pretends like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so Kaori has grabbed literally everything that her little arms can carry. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna show everybody. So more time passes, and it's now evening there in Shinjuku, and they're in the middle of the square, out in public where everybody's walking around. There's a little LED screen up on a wall that now has a personalized message from Kaori to Silver Fox.
It basically says, hey Silver Fox, come down and meet me by the docks.
The landfill D, tonight, you and me, let's go.
Also, here's my name, Kaori Makimura. If you're anybody else in Shinjuku, you've just broadcasted this message to everyone in town, and I would personally be like, oh man, there's gonna be some shit going down at the landfill. I really want to go see this. It's amazing nobody else goes to see this.
If it had been us, we'd have gone to check it out.
I'd have been like, oh my god, what's happening?
World Star.
Well, it works, because Silver Fox is like, oh man, is she serious? I guess I'll go down there. Meanwhile, Ryo can also see this message. So like I said, other people in town can read your message.
Well, also, Ryo's been tailing Kaori this whole time.
I also kind of want to mention, the same message happens in the manga, right? The same display up on a wall. But in the anime, I like how it's an 80s LED lit kind of board, right? So a whole bunch of LEDs actually are burned out, because that's just how eventually they're gonna burn out and they need to be replaced. But people keep putting advertisements and messages up on them anyway. Surely maybe every so often you might have seen those electronic billboards that are now more modern, and they also do that. Sometimes some of those lights are burned out too, so you might understand. She's lucky her message got out there, because a quarter of that board was burned out. I just thought that was a funny observation.
It's a little taste of reality there in the show that they showed that many bulbs were burned out, because you gotta imagine that's a really high traffic area, and even the people running the better part of Shinjuku were like, we're not gonna fix it. Wait until half of them burn out and then we'll fix it.
Yeah, because that's just the way LEDs, neon, McDonald's arches, CVS stores, they'll let them be burned out for half a year before, or more before anybody ever does anything to fix them, if ever.
One of my favorite ones, just to sidebar for a second, was back at home in Texas. We would drive by different businesses that were notorious for having lights burned out and not replace them. So during the day, you would drive by a Hobby Lobby, but when you drove by at night, it would say Hoyobi.
There was one that was like a CVS, and it also had a Food Mart in it or something.
Yes, yeah. No, it was a Walgreens.
It was a Walgreens, okay. It also has a Food Mart. So it says Food Mart on two different sides of the wall.
On a corner.
And they were both burned out in two different ways. One of them said Food Mar, and the other said Food Art. So we would drive by it at night and have Food Mar and Food Art battles with each other. Which one wins? Which one battles for supremacy, But
the best one that there ever was the Goodyear store that we would drive by at night, and certain lights were burned out, so all you could see when you drove by was, oh yeah.
I mean, that one was good, but there was also, a furniture warehouse, and then all that was left of it was Wa House, and then I put Waluigi's picture underneath it.
Oh, I forgot you did that.
Wa House. Oh, that was my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that's all to just describe this LED message that Kaori has put up in Shinjuku on an LED lit up advertising board that is a quarter burned out. I also just kind of want to point out, too, that, here in the anime, she did go to Umibozu to get tips and tricks on how to fight and how to set traps and stuff before she goes into this fight. And as I already mentioned, Umibozu is not there in this chapter of the manga, so she doesn't have that conversation with him at all. When she went and raided the armory, she did that all of her own accord. She took off all on her own. She's just like this bad boss bitch. Just takes off. She just decides, this is what I'm gonna do. Nobody's gonna stop me.
But I think thematically here in the show, it makes more sense that she had some kind of support system in Umibozu to back her up in this, like, hey, I need to raid the armory. I'm gonna do it myself. Just talk to Ryo for a second.
I do think it's a better narrative. Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, Ryo is also looking at the message here, and he's like basically talking to Kaori, or he's talking about Kaori without her in earshot. You're causing a lot of trouble for me, but I'll be done with you after this.
Yeah.
So he fully intends to walk away from Kaori after all this is said and done with Silver Fox.
You know, he smokes a lot more in the manga than he does in the anime. He was not smoking in that scene that we were just describing in the anime, right?
No.
Yeah, they removed him smoking. Man, they really nerfed the anime.
He is a man of vice.
Yeah.
So now it's time for the death match out at the landfill, and Kaori looks like she just jumped out of or is about to star in the next Metal Slug installment.
Yeah, just ready to shoot up a bunch of enemies and save some POWs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Heavy machine gun is what she's... Well, no, she's carrying like an Uzi
Yeah, this is definitely some sort of semi-automatic
weapon here.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's got the kamikaze headband on.
The manga, she's not wearing the headband, but the anime, she very much is.
So, what is it, Tarma? She looks like Tarma a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. So she's waiting. She's waiting at this landfill.
And she hears footsteps. Dun, 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 dun,
Not
dun.
the song.
No, not the song. She hears footsteps, like somebody walking toward her. And she's like, who goes there?
And it appears to be Ryo. Hi, Kaori. I saw your message out there. What's up? Why are you doing this?
And Kaori's like, well, you know why I'm doing all this, because all that crap you said to me. Get the hell out of here.
No.
Ryo, I'm doing air quotes here, is like, no, I'm here to protect my precious Kaori. Now give me the gun.
And she's like, I'm not gonna give you the gun, but I will give you a bra.
So Kaori has brought out one of her own bras, and remember, she buys the good stuff.
It's nice and light and pink, because that seems to be the only color bra they ever make in this show, is the pink kind.
It's high quality. And Ryo, air quotes again, like buffers for a second.
He has to think, wait, what do I do in this situation? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be extremely excited about bras. Yes, I am very excited and very happy that Kaori has given me one of her bras. And that's when Kaori is like, and that's how I know that you're not the real Ryo. He's like, what are you talking about? It's totally me, your adorable Mokkori Ryo-chan.
And she's like, nah, screw that, and then just starts blasting.
She explains it first. No, the reason why I know you're not Ryo is because Ryo isn't attracted to me, so this doesn't make any sense. He wouldn't be all giddy about my underwear.
Also, you called me precious Kaori. Ryo doesn't talk to me like that.
So this is what's kind of sad, is that the real Ryo has actually convinced her, and she believes that he is not in any way attracted to her. He managed to successfully do it, which means he did what he intended to do, but it is very sad because it's not true.
Yeah, she has no idea. All the way back in episode 4, he was already trying to mess around with her undergarments, which again is messed up. He shouldn't do that. That's wrong. But here, it's enough for her to recognize, oh, this is totally not him. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for those things, it's also the fact that he had to think about what to do with the bra. Well, because it's that whole thing that we were saying from last time. Silver Fox, when you're impersonating somebody, do your homework. Like, you knew enough to throw the bra at him. Like, you know, if a bra comes out, if you're playing the part of Ryo Saiba, you get horny.
But she does start blasting at him, and that's when he's like, fine, I'm gonna rip my face off, just like this is Mission Impossible, and underneath, it looks like almost an identical face to me, but then he rips off this wig, and now he looks like a different person because he's got wildly different hair.
So Kaori switches from the Uzi to the bazooka, and just is lighting his ass up. Like, he's dodging out of the way and like taunting her like, oh, you can't even hit me with the bazooka? You suck, you suck, you suck.
But then he starts triggering traps.
And tripwires.
Tripwires and a bunch of like bamboo
shoots fashioned into like spears.
Yeah, a bunch of spears start coming out at him. There's like a pitfall with a bunch more spiky things at the bottom that he almost falls into in this pit.
And Kaori starts ragging on him like, nah, bitch, you underestimated me because you thought I was nobody. Well, guess what? In the however many days it's been since this episode started, I was trained to the point of mastery in the art of traps and bombs by Umibozu.
And now once she has mentioned Umibozu, he's really freaked out like, oh no, not Umibozu. He doesn't say that in the manga because Umibozu wasn't a thing there, but the anime is way better in that sense. Like, being scared of Umibozu, you should be scared of Umibozu. Meanwhile, Ryo is watching the whole thing happen from a distance, and he's like, hey, this is pretty fun. I'm gonna just keep watching this. He may as well pull out a bucket full of popcorn. Just, oh, this is great. This is good entertainment. She's really actually doing something.
Because she is. She's lighting his ass up. He's running away from trip mines and spears that could be really impaling him and doing damage. And then finally, she corners his ass on the side of a cliff and then starts lighting him up again, and she draws blood.
She at least nicks him in the shoulder. He's pushed back and he falls off the cliff, and then suddenly we see him reappear somewhere kind of behind her. I don't know how he got that far around behind her, but fine. He lived through all that, and he's about to shoot her in the back. Like, she has no idea.
Yeah, she's looking over the cliff like, oh, did I get him? Did I do it? And she's about to die.
Luckily, Ryo is there. He never stopped trying to protect her.
Not for a second.
No matter what he said to her, his plan was always to continue protecting her.
And so now he's had enough of Silver Fox, and he's gonna go take care of this right now.
And while Silver Fox is over here, like, just about to fire his gun at Kaori, Ryo fires his gun into Silver Fox's hand. And he's just bleeding out. He's like, oh my god, my finger! You just wrecked my damn finger!
No, he took it off.
It might be gone. You don't actually see him lose the finger.
Well, no, in the anime Ryo says, with your finger missing.
It didn't say missing, it just said with your finger like that, or without your finger. Now, he could have just injured it to the point where it is totally unusable. But
that is possible,
we don't see, because he's immediately grasped his firing finger with his left hand, covering it up, trying to stop the bleeding. So we don't see whether the finger is totally gone, or if he's just like, oh my god, I'm never gonna be able to use this finger again.
See, I'm of the opinion, even going all the way back to episode 1 with Ryo shooting through his hand, that it didn't completely mess up his hand is bull. Mm-hmm. So I'm of the opinion that that finger is gone. Like, it is severed, it is not on his hand anymore.
I mean, I would believe that. Again, the anime very much nerfs how much violence there is.
Yeah, like, there's no blood.
There's a lot more blood in the manga, and I guess you can make an argument for this panel that you only see 4 fingers here and then a bunch of blood.
Yeah, he looks way more injured and freaked out here in the manga panel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that also because this was very personal, because of how much he's making Ryo and Kaori have to deal with this stuff and their own feelings, that he totally would have taken the finger off.
That's possible. It is very possible. So Ryo's like, you're not gonna do this shit anymore, right?
Or you want to die right here.
And the guy just kind of buckles over, and I guess he has decided, well, I can't do this shit anymore. So did Ryo let him go again? I guess he must have. But well, I mean, what's he gonna do now if he literally does not have what he needs to be able to continue to do those kinds of jobs anymore?
Well, it's the same thing that I think happens in shows like Kenshin and Trigun, where like Vash and Kenshin both do moves like that, where if you don't want to kill the person, rip the muscle or rip whatever part of the arm is necessary to make sure they can never wield a gun or a sword again.
Right.
Which is smart. Like, if you don't want to take a life, you don't want to up the body count, I respect that. But at the same time, you want to make sure this person is no longer a threat.
Yeah.
And you just better hope that Silver Fox never learns how to shoot lefty.
He wasn't ever very good right-handed anyway, so I don't think that's gonna happen. Either way, Kaori is feeling very confident, like, I actually did something. And, you know, for the most part, she kind of did. She just didn't do the finishing thing, that's all.
And from the distance that Ryo is at, because again, Kaori has no idea what has just happened. Ryo's telling her, you got a long way to go, but no, you did really well tonight. So, respect.
Yeah, they've gone back to the apartment. She's just like, yeah, so what's up? You still gonna ditch me?
I did it myself.
I took care of this shit.
And now, as you would figure, Kaori's motivation has gone from being cordial with him to spite. Where it's like, ain't nobody meadow over you. I don't care about that. I'm only gonna stay here to watch your sorry ass end up alone. That's why I'm gonna stick around. You're stuck with me. And it's really interesting to me that Ryo just kind of goes, yeah, alright, we'll work that out. Like, that's all of his response to that.
That's because it doesn't bother him that she's gonna stick around, because whether he accepts it or not, he wants her there.
He does, because whether he knows it or not, and I think on some level he does, because even Sayako was hinting at it, and based off all of his reactions last episode that were hinting at it, he might L-word her.
No.
Yes.
Lunchables.
He is in Lunchables with her.
He's definitely in Lunchables with her because he has caught a glimpse of Kaori's ass in these clothes that she's been wearing. These extremely tight pants that she went out to go to war in.
Makes her legs look great,
and
but also...
he's now hungry for that ass. In Lunchables with her. That's what this means.
Kaori, is your middle name Lunchables because you look like a snack?
That's where I was trying to go with it, and I didn't know how to take it all the way there. But... so, there's a light separation of how the manga has treated this moment compared to how the anime treats this moment.
So the anime, he sees her ass and is like, ooh, ass. And he starts reaching for it.
Like, he's not even thinking about necessarily who it's attached to anymore. It now no longer bothers him.
Like, it left his mind who this is.
And he's just out to touch the hiney, and Kaori is just like, excuse me?
And he catches himself like, wait, what am I doing? I don't normally do this. Why am I doing this?
And it's a funny comparison to the manga, which, as we have already discussed many times before on this show,
is much more graphic.
It's because the reason why Ryo even says Mokkori in the anime at all is because that's the sound effect for getting a boner. And so, in the manga,
when he sees her ass,
this is like the mother of all boners.
A raging boner.
Just the largest boner I have ever seen. Enormous.
Okay, that's not true. I've seen other panels where that boner is way bigger.
Okay, I still think, like, this is...
I mean, that is a very defined boner.
It's almost concerning, if I have to be honest with you.
He needs to see a doctor now. Don't wait 4 hours.
And even then, he has to grab his crotch, and he's like, oh, no. What's up with that? That's not usual. Ha ha ha. It creates the same idea. It's just that one is more graphic than the other.
But in both cases, Kaori defaults back to the idea that she had during the fight with Silver Fox.
Which is actually really sad. That she really genuinely believes that Ryo is not attracted to her at all. And so, wait a minute, you're not the real Ryo. It's you again, Silver Fox, isn't it? Just faking being Ryo. I told you Ryo's not attracted to me. And she starts trying to shoot him.
And at this point, we cue Supergirl, and that's the end of the episode. I really like that. I'm going to say it every week. It's a really good song.
I wouldn't have spent so much time talking about the manga if it weren't for the fact that, like, holy crap, I just walked into that book off and walked away with the manga that covers literally the exact same episode we were working on this week, you know?
Like, what are the odds?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So I understand that this is probably a long episode because I went off on that, but I just thought it was so fascinating. The decisions the animators made when adapting it from the manga into an anime. You can see where the grains of it are, where there's been a seed planted to tell this story, and they basically went with it, and they just decided we need to make sure that this is as tight as possible for the sake of a TV show.
Yeah, from a creative standpoint, I totally get that somebody there at Sunrise was like, no, we need to make the decision to use the characters we've already got on hand. We've already introduced Reika. We've already got Umibozu. We can tell a much more more tight story, like you said, and it'll actually come across better to the audience, we think.
Yeah.
And here in 2022, I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I don't care about B-Woman and whoever this old professor guy is who wants to play footsie with Kaori.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, these characters are the ones I've gotten attached to. Like, I know Umibozu at this point.
Yeah.
I've met Reika. I don't like Sayako. So, like, it means more to me when you've tied it back and given them this core cast to work and play off of.
Right.
So yeah, this is like amazing, the amount of depth that we got to see in what I'm calling the growth of the relationship between Kaori and Ryo.
Yeah, and it's just gonna keep going from here. Like, there'll be little breaks from episode to episode. They'll go back to being a little bit episodic, but every so often we're gonna come back to, hey, do they care about each other? They probably care about each other. You care about where this goes, right?
Because Kaori, clearly we can see, up until just recently with everything Ryo said that was really asshole-ish,
Yeah.
Kaori was much more willing to admit that she might have feelings for Ryo than Ryo is, because Ryo's having to put on a hell of a show for Kaori to try and convince both her and himself that that's not what he actually wants.
Right. And anybody else around him, too, because he's barely allowing anybody else around him to think that they care about each other. He might have let Sayako go ahead and say everything that she just said, but he didn't contradict her, and he also didn't say, yes, you're absolutely right, Sayako, that is exactly why I am doing what I am doing.
Well, yeah, because at minimum, both Nogami sisters know what's up.
Yeah.
And Umibozu just doesn't know how love works.
He really doesn't.
Canonically, he doesn't know.
It takes him a very long time to get any clear understanding.
But eventually he will.
Yeah, one day.
One day. This season?
I think it's this season, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this season. Yeah, in the second half of this season, we're going to get introduced to a character that's going to change things up for Umibozu in a good way.
Yeah. He needs some affection as well.
Yeah, because...
He needs somebody to care about him.
That big old lug just needs somebody to take care of him.
And to teach him to learn to like cats or something. I don't know.
I don't know that anybody can teach him that.
But they're gonna try. They're just gonna keep trying.
And speaking of Umibozu, next week, he's going to be back in action with Ryo and also Sayako being around, because, hey, guess what? We remembered all these characters are here. We might as well use them.
Also, there will be Yakuza again. Yay.
It's back to the bread and butter of this podcast, talking about boners and Yakuza.
At least this next episode is not another two-parter.
Oh, thank God.
So, come back next time when we cover the 5th episode of City Hunter 2, a mischievous Mokkori detective, a beautiful writer's mystery game.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both still on Twitter,
which still exists for some reason.
I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you so much for listening to our 55th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, I'm gonna hit Josh with 2 hammers.
Double impacto!